So the word got round the prison, evil tongues, gossiping, making trouble, causing trouble. And that's what happened in the Philippines. Word got round that I was a wine bibber, that I'd left my wife. This was to discredit myself and the work that we was doing. I call this rumours, gossip, betrayal and forsaken. Now in December 2002 I learned that Lucas had not registered our Trojan Horse International Ministry with the authorities in the Philippines. He should have done so. I'd given him the money to do some months earlier. He hadn't done it. So I asked him to return the 1.1 million pesos we had given to him for our mission work in the jails, which is in fact over £10,000. And as a result of that, 4 days later, I learned afterwards that he instructed his men to write a petition to get us out of the prison. You see, his men were pressurising him because if they believed the rumours, A, that I'm a wine bibber, that I mix with sinners, that I mix with late at night, and now the money's been taken, and now they didn't like the Calvinism, and they didn't like the fact that I was speaking against women doing work which, are they really qualified to do so? And of course they wanted to get us out of the prison. They tried to ban us from the prison. That happened in January. Another rumour that was spread in the prison was that Americans had sponsored Michael and I to the tune of $4 million, and that Michael's adversary, Shay Cullen, had alerted the Catholic Church about our book Trojan Warriors and that it had been banned in the Philippines. Now it so happened that the amount of money that Michael and I had made available to Trojan Horse International was in fact £40,000, not dollars. And Lucas was the only one who knew our financial capacity. This was because I'd already deposited into his bank account 3 million pesos at the commencement of our second mission. He returned just over 1 million pesos in December, when I learned that he'd not registered our ministry. The other RVOs who opposed our mission happened to be American RVO women, none of which were former prisoners. They had a vested interest to work within the prison, and the only way they could gain access to the prison was in fact through an internal ministry, such as Lucas's New Bilibid Prison Bible Institute, which was later called New Bilibid Prison Christian Church. I now believe it's changed name again. These were the RVOs who were the don't-doers, who insisted you don't drink and you don't smoke. They opposed us, and I call it their Arminian righteousness, righteousness according to the natural man's religion. There was another Filipino lady who worked at the Bureau of Immigration that I had been recommended to help with my visa renewal. I'd asked her to renew my visa and gave her 6,000 pesos in January, but she didn't do it. She simply held on to my passport. Had I been stopped without my passport and visa permit, I would have been arrested and sent to prison in Bicutan and been deported for a visa overstay. It took a letter from the British Embassy to Andrea Domingo, the head of the Bureau of Immigration, to recover my passport from this Filipino. It so happened that Dolores Nava took this letter to the Bureau by hand, and by chance the Filipino who had my passport took the letter from her and returned my passport immediately. It took several further attempts to visiting her home to recover the 6,000 pesos, and on that occasion I was informed that the other RVO working within the prison with Lucas had already suggested to her that she informed the Bureau of Immigration about my visa overstay to get me deported. Now, what happened then was Lucas sent word back to England informing Gordon and Alistair, and Gordon and Alistair as a result turned their back on me, forsook me, withdrew from the ministry. They expected me to cower down to them, to do exactly what they wanted, to give in to their dictates. And it reminded me of the time when the Jews of old sought to make sure the Gentiles were circumcised just like them. They said unless the Gentiles are circumcised, they can't be saved. These men were saying unless you stop smoking, drinking, mixing with people, singing songs, all this kind of stuff, unless you don't, just like the brethren, just like the legalists, the traditions of men and keeping the law of Moses, unless you do these things you can't be saved. That's not gospel. And I stood my ground, we withstood our ground, and they forsook us all. And I felt alone, but I wasn't alone. The Lord stood by me. All my communication back to the UK and my solicitor dealing with the divorce and things like that was done via the internet office called Chat Crib. It's in Bruges Street. And the lady running the Bruges Street internet office was Dolores Nava. And she assisted me in the work. She assisted me in typing and sending letters and documents back to the UK. She learned about our work because I used to use the internet office. She went to her website and was very interested in it. And she introduced me to Pastor Ronaldo Lopez, who was in fact a particular Baptist pastor, a strict and particular Baptist, old school, and it was amazing to find him, because when I talked to him about the things which I'd learned and was from the Gospel Standard Church and from a strict Baptist church in England, we got on like a house on fire, and he was very supportive of the work that we was doing. Through that man, he took me to the Security Exchange Commission. We registered our mission under the name Trojan Horse International, Tulip, Phils Incorporated. Now you go and see our articles of incorporation, what it includes. This enabled us to do our work, continue our work in the Philippines. So I call this the death and the resurrection of Trojan Horse International. So it was the death of the old Trojan Horse International, the resurrection was Trojan Horse International, Tulip, Phils Incorporated, defined that we were Calvinistic, 5-point Calvinists. And this gave us the, if you like, the qualification, the ability. Through that I was able to get my full-time visa to work in the Philippines, and also through the Bureau of Corrections input I was able to preach and teach in all the jails throughout the Philippines. So that was the work through Ronaldo Lopez. And as a result of his work, he also appointed 3 directors to Trojan Horse International, all particular Baptists, old school, particular strict Baptists. You see the men, go and see on the YouTube, you'll see it. But this did not stop the evil reports being returned back to the UK. We still had opposition, continued opposition, and as a result of that, Ronaldo Lopez stepped in again. In January 25th, 2003, he got Lucas and I to get together, and he wrote out a memorandum of agreement between Lucas and I. And these are the words, and this was the covenant of agreement that we agreed to. These were this. Heading of this memorandum of agreement is, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." This is what it says. "We promise and covenant together according to the following terms of peace. Continue our own distinctive ministries within the prisons in the Philippines. Assist one another without compromising our own conscience in Christian practice and conduct. Maintain our own confessions and doctrine and practice as set out in our articles of religion. To pray for each other. Resolve any further difficulties in accordance with the principles laid down by our Lord Jesus Christ." Matthew 18, verse 15 to 17. Signed and dated 25th of January 2003. Parties: David Clark, Lucas P. Dungatton. So that was what Lopez did. So we've got now appointed officers. We also paid we also appointed a religious volunteer, Arnel Gonzalez, and gave him 6,000 pesos per month to continue the work within New Billy Prison. We bought some land in the prison, we built a function room, and he commenced to teach the gospel and encouraged these men to prepare for the ministry. The Trinitarian Bible Society in England had sent word promising us with supplying of Bibles and literature. And our work in the Philippines has continued to this day according to the terms of the Memorandum of Agreement between Lucas Dungatton and I.
Spirit of the Lord, come down, anoint me to proclaim the wonders of my God and King. Jesus is his name, chosen by the Father, delight said upon